Hey YouTube, I'm going to quickly read an email that I received regarding President Obama's recent trip to Montana to promote his health care program. And I'll just read from it directly. News from Montana. Things are not always what they seem. Hello all. By now you've all heard that Obama came to Montana last Friday. However, there are many things the major news has not covered. I feel it's necessary since we live here, and we are at the airport. We were at the airport on Friday. I should share some facts with you. Whatever you decide to do with the information is up to you. On Wednesday, August 15th, it was announced that the president would be coming. There were many groups here against his health care and huge spending. So those groups began talking and deciding on what they were going to do. The White House would not release any details other than the date. On about Tuesday, we found out that they would be holding a town hall at the airport. This is only because we know everyone at the airport. Our airport location is outside of a tiny town, very remote, and nothing is around there. They chose the hangar in the most remote location. You couldn't pick a more remote spot, and you cannot get to it easily. It is totally secluded from the public. FYI, we have many areas in our town and Bozeman which could have held a large amount of folks with sufficient parking, gymnasiums, auditoriums, all with chairs, tables, which would not have had to have been shipped in. Big bucks, lots of dollar signs. During the week, cargo by the tons, capital T-O-N-S, was being shipped in constantly. Airport employees could not believe how it just kept coming. Though it was our president coming, several expressed how excessive it was, especially during a recession. Big bucks, a lot of dollar signs. Late Tuesday, early Wednesday, on the 12th, they said that tickets would be handed out on Thursday at 9 a.m. at 2 locations, and the president would be arriving around 12:30 on Friday. Thursday morning, about 600 tickets were passed out. However, 1,500 tickets were 1,500 tickets were printed at a local shop per the White House request. 900 tickets just disappeared. The same morning, someone called the radio from a local UPS branch to say that thousands of dollars of lobster were shipped in for the Obamas. Montana has some of the best beef in the nation, and it would have been really wonderful to help out the local economy. Anyone ever heard of a recession? Just think, with all the travel the White House is doing and the dollars, one can only imagine what else we're paying for. On Friday, we got to the airport around 10:45. The groups that wanted to protest Obama's spending and health care had gotten a permit to protest, and the area was roped off. But that was not to be. A large bus carrying an SEIU, Service Employees International Union, members drove up onto the area illegally and unloaded right there. It was quite a commotion, and there was specifically 2 different SEIU guys trying to make trouble and start a fight. Police did get involved and arrested one of them, but said they didn't have the manpower to remove the entire crowd. The SEIU crowd was very organized and young. About 99% were under the age of 30, and they were not locals. They had bullhorns and professionally made signs. Some even wore pre-printed T-shirts. Oh, and Planned Parenthood folks were with them, professing abortion rights with their T-shirts and pre-printed signs. By the way, all these folks did have a permit to protest in another area. Those against health care and spending moved away from the SEIU crowd to avoid confrontation. They were orderly and respectful, even though the SEIU kept coming over and walking through, continuing to be very intimidating and aggressive at the direction of one of the SEIU guys. So we had Montana folks from all over the state with their homemade signs and their dogs with homemade signs. We had cowboys, nurses, doctors, you name it. There was a guy from Texas who had been driving through. He found out about the occasion, went to the store, made a sign, and came to protest. If you're wondering about the press, well, of the major networks, all of the major networks were over by the remote hangar mentioned before. They were conveniently parked on the other side of the building, far away. None of these crowds were even visible to them from that perspective. I have my doubts they even knew the crowds existed. We did have some local news media around us from the state and Ohio and Idaho. Speaking of local media, they were invited. However, all questions were to be turned into the White House in advance of the event. Wouldn't want to have anyone having to think off the top of their head. It's obvious this was meant to be a totally controlled event by the White House. Everything that was orchestrated down to the last detail to make it appear that Montana is just crazy for Obama and government health care. Even those people that talked about their insurance woes, the White House called our local HRDC, Human Resources and Development Committee, and asked for names. Then the White House asked those folks to come. Smoke and mirrors, everything was staged. Everything. I am very dismayed about what I learned about our current White House. The amount of control and manipulation was unbelievable. I felt I was not living in the United States of America, but more like USSR. I was physically nauseous. My husband and I have been around presidents or heads of state visits before. It's never been like this. I'm truly very frightened for our country. America needs your prayers and your voices. If you care about our country, please get involved. Know the issues and let Congress hear your voices again and again. If they're willing to put forth so much effort to bully a small town, one can only imagine what's going on in Washington, D.C. Scary. And the lady signs her name. You know, when we hear on mainstream media like MSNBC and CNBC, etc., that the Republicans are staging all of these healthcare protests, immediately you need to be suspicious, because when a mainstream media comes out like that with those kinds of claims, they are so democratically backed and so forth, you know right away that they're the first people to do what they are accusing others of doing. I mean, it's just so transparent. And this really drives the point home and makes it clear that, and I myself personally been to the tax protests, the Tea Party events, and completely without going with any group, just myself, individual. And I can see how orchestrated the media plays these things up. And it's always to the advantage of the Democrat Party line. And I'm not for the Republican Party line either. I'm not happy with what they did. I'm not happy with what the Democrats are doing. I'm just sharing that we have a huge slant in media, and I find it refreshing to hear from the local voice. I hope you'll spread this message and take to heart that people are observing and taking time to tell you about it.